Thank you, Nicole. Good afternoon, everyone, to the City of Asheville Transit Committee meeting, Tuesday, June 18th, 2024, from 5 to 7 p.m., meeting virtually. Thank you. At this time, I will go ahead and read our introduction. The Transit Committee is a volunteer citizen board designed to offer input and guidance to the Asheville transit system and the City Council. We do not set or change routes, control Asheville's transit budget, or have authority over staff, drivers, or the management company. We are a group of citizens like you who are here to ensure community concerns are taken into consideration when setting public transit policy. At this time, I will call a roll for both transit committee members and staff. Harvey Harold, I'm your chair. Glad to be here today. Sandy called in and said she was going to be a little late, but I'll still say her name. Sandy Aldridge, are you here? Sandy Aldridge. Elaine Barnes.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Joseph Chesler.
Yes, hey, Harold, excuse me.
Don't worry, Joe. I got 3 first names, 3 last names, and 3 middle names. They've been used all kind of ways. Glad you're here, Joe. Bill said he would be a little late, but I'll call his name anyway. Bill Loftus. Bill Loftus. Colin Kenton.
I'm here, Hart.
Glad you're here, Colin. Okay, Kara Wheeler.
Here.
Kara Wheeler. Glad you're here, Kara. Okay. Okay, staff. Paul Ballard. Paul Ballard. Jessica Morris. Jessica Morris. Amber Wagner.
Here, Harvey.
Thank you, Amber. Christopher Whitlock.
Here, Harvey.
Thank you, Chris. Christina Harris. Christina Harris. Nicole Hart.
Present.
Thank you, Nicole. Keith Sanders.
President Chairman Howard.
Thank you, Keith. LaShawn Abraham.
Here.
Thank you, LaShawn. Danielle Aiken.
Harvey, I'm here.
Thank you, Danielle. All right. We do have a quorum going forward. Okay. I take it everyone has went over the agenda and read the minutes for June 18, 2024. And we already went over the May 21st, 2024 minutes. Right now, we'll go over a review and approval. May I have a motion to accept the minutes from June 18, 2024 and May 21st, 2024? May I have a motion, please? For approval.
Motion to accept
Thank
the
you,
minutes.
Carol. May I have a second? May I have a second?
I'll second, Harvey.
Thank you,
Sure.
Joe. At this time, I'll go ahead and call the roll. Harvey Harold, yes. Elaine Barnes,
Yes.
thank you, Elaine. Joseph Chesler,
Yes, sir.
thank you, Joe. Colin Kenton,
Abstention.
okay, Colin, take that as a yes.
No, that's an abstention because I didn't attend the meeting. So
We still count it as a yes, though, Colin. Carol Wheeler.
Yes.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, moving on down to the agenda.
Harvey, excuse me, point of order. You mentioned the June 18th agenda minutes. On the agenda, it's listed as agenda. Obviously, we can't approve today's minutes until the meeting's finished, but just wanted to correct that if that was your intention.
Agenda is listed at the top of the page.
Yeah, I think the motion you asked for was to approve minutes from the 18th of June.
Minutes. Okay, I understand what you're saying now, Joseph.
Just a nitpicky, but I wanted to make sure. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We'll be moving forward with that. Thank you, Joe. Everybody's input is welcome. I like that. There is no public comment. Nicole has informed me. There is no new business. We'll go into old business at this time. We transit committee retreat information item. Committee member Carol Wheeler will discuss the initial steps we've taken on planning for transit committee retreat. Carol, you have the floor.
Great, thanks, Harvey. So for the working group on planning a retreat agenda and setting retreat agenda, it's Harvey, Colin, and myself. So we met yesterday and kind of flushed through some outlines, and I also met with Amber and Paul earlier this week. I guess it was yesterday as well. So far, would love to get some input from y'all about what date is going to work best, and we'll put out a poll for everyone to actually kind of pick days that is going to align best for everyone's schedule. So when you see the poll, just click the yes for everything that you're available for, since it might kind of be hard to get everyone aligned on there. Is there any general preferences for like Saturdays or Tuesdays or middle of the week or like stuff like that, so that the poll just doesn't have a million dates and times when we kind of start narrowing it down?
Kara, I have a question.
Yeah.
How much time are we planning to devote to the retreat?
We were thinking 4 hours,
Okay.
and having it in lieu of a normal scheduled meeting. So let's say we did it in August, we would not do the August meeting, or if we did it September, we wouldn't do the September meeting. Just so that we aren't double booking everyone. Does that seem like an all right amount? Colin, I see you've got your hand.
yeah, Gary, I was just going to suggest, as I mentioned yesterday, I kind of like doing a Friday from like 10 to 2. That way staff doesn't have to come in on a Saturday.
If I threw some Fridays out there, is there anyone that's absolutely not going to work for? And then we'll just have a couple of days open on the survey. Yes, no's. Yes,
So
okay.
what? Go over that again, Kara, because I was writing down some things.
So I'll put a couple of days on the survey. Everyone, please put what they are available for, and any like hard no's that you absolutely cannot make. And then Colin just suggested that we do like on a Friday, maybe like a 10 to 2 time frame. If that works for everyone, I'll put some options on the survey availability. And that should come out sometime.
Okay, so we're mainly trying to keep this Monday through Friday, right?
If that works for everyone, I think that's the most respectful of staff times. If anyone has a hard commitment that they can't make that work, Amber said she would be willing to work with us.
Okay.
So I think both sides can give.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like to add to that. The main concern that I had with the time when we have the retreat is whether staff would be willing to go into a weekend or mainly keep it for the weekdays. Amber has her hand raised. Go ahead, Amber.
I like the idea, just our staff having Friday, but also, you know, we do want to be flexible depending on what the availability of time is. We were also going to look at utilizing an existing facilitator who works for the city. So it may be possibly based on like their availability as well. So it might be good to have a few options.
Okay, sounds good.
But we appreciate it.
Uh-huh. Yes, we're looking at all the options for the retreat.
Harvey, would you like me to go over like what we have drafted out so we can get everyone's input during this time?
It would be a good idea.
Okay.
Let staff know and committee members know.
All right, I'm gonna share
where
my
we're
screen
at.
then, if that's all right, Harvey.
That's fine. If it's fine with Nicole and Amber, I'm good.
Let me know when everyone can see that and if I need to zoom in anymore.
Looks
You
good.
need to zoom in a little bit. We
Okay.
can see it, but
Okay.
There.
So
that's good.
we started with the retreat outline, and this is all draft. So everyone, please give feedback. We want this to be a retreat that everyone gets a lot of value out of. So retreat goal, focus on strategy and how to move strategy to action during the upcoming year transit meetings. Multimodal did this where they had some pre-reading. That wasn't a hard requirement, but just so everyone had some basic of the same information right there, easily accessible. So I linked the 2018 Transit Master Plan, the current Transportation Department work plan, and then we'll link the others soon. So for the retreat outline, we'll do an agenda overview, a intro team building activity, just kind of get everyone loosened up, saying hi. If we have any monthly items that need to get covered, we'll cover it right after team building. And if there are any public comments, to cover it then. We'll go over some ground rules there, and then set some time for vision setting with the question, if there were no limits, what would you envision for the future of Asheville Transit? And if I'm going too slow or fast, just let me know, or otherwise I'll keep trucking. And then what does it mean to be on transit committee? A presentation from Harvey, just about the system and process overview. How do we as transit committee move ideas forward? Maybe a flow chart of that process. And then Harvey leading us in a group discussion on being a transit ambassador as a transit committee member and advancing bus riding best practices. Next, moving on to update on the transit master plan implementation. Amber, this one's new from when we spoke. This was Colin had this idea of what have we accomplished from there, because I know there is some stuff that's definitely been done since that 2018 transit master plan. What's been started and what's kind of coming up for the department in the next 12 months. And then moving on to budget and funding, near and long term. What is the current funding and grant timelines? This would be a staff presentation of understanding of grant timeline, staff presentation and time for questions and clarity for all of us. Understanding of grant timelines, which grants are we applying for? Which ones are we choosing not to? What organizations do we currently partner with? How does that communication work? And how can a transit committee help support staff and advocate for funding? Because we all know funding is so critical for the bus service. And then a group discussion kind of everywhere of, do we want to create a working group on funding? I'll pause right there. Any thoughts or opinions before I keep on going? No? Okay, we'll keep trucking. Next, lunch break, or if it's during the evening, dinner break, get some food, have time to chat with everyone. And then we would love to see the NPO present on plans for Buncombe County transit while we're eating, and just a chance to kind of learn more about what else is going on in the county so we can make sure that we're aligned and understanding. And then this is kind of going to get to some of the bulk of it, which I think will really help drive these meetings going forward. What do we want to accomplish this year? Short-term goals. So this would be a group discussion with the intention of setting 1 to 2 tangible goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And then with the follow-up question, do we want to create a working group off of those? And then next, setting what vision do we want to work towards in the next 10 years? Probably spring bounding off of the transit master plan, and then set those smart, tangible goals with the question, do we want to create a working group off of any of that? And then our open question for staff is, how can TC support staff through these meetings so that we help use our voice as transit committee to be advocating for that? And then kind of a question for us, what format do we want to have for meetings? How do we want working groups to report out? Any short-term goals on the agenda? Do we want to add the short-term goals to the agenda every month? How do we want to set agenda items for upcoming meetings? And then what agenda items do we want to hear from staff? Can we get added to automated dashboard to eliminate work of compiling data? What data do we find valuable? What's not? Advocate for creation of data dashboard to easily see ridership data and on-time performance data in one place. And Transit Master Plan has some really great graphs that we don't see monthly. Can we set up a dashboard to auto-populate so we have informed decision-making? Example, based on the chart below from the Transit Master Plan, target bus stop improvements to the highest use stops. Kind of things like that. So I'm going to move my screen so I can see all y'all. Would love everyone's input on that for what y'all think on the agenda. Where would you like to see it go forward? This is just drafting stages. So really, as Harvey says, all input is valuable. Did I get that right, Harvey?
You got it right, Kara. Thank you. Do we have any input from the committee? I saw Joseph, he had one statement he made. It went by so quick I didn't get a chance. It was something about busing.
That was just a joke. Kara was keeping on trucking. I thought, didn't she really mean keeping on bussing?
All right. Thank you, Joe, for the levity. Elaine has her hand raised. Go ahead, Elaine.
The planning sounds really good. And as a new member, it would be particularly helpful because it would provide such a good overview. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm probably the newest member, so it would be particularly good for me. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm right behind you, Elaine. So.
Thank you, Elaine. Are there any other comments?
This is Kim. I just, as your liaison, just wanted to say thank you to Kara and Harvey and everyone who participated in getting this up and moving. I know there's some work ahead, but I'm really encouraged to see where you're headed.
Yes, thank you, Colin. He was in with that too. Thank you, Kim, for your input, which is greatly appreciated. All right, is there any more input? Okay. If not, we'll go ahead. Let me see, Elaine Barnes and two hands raised. Okay, Elaine, Amber.
I just wanted to thank Kara for taking the time with meeting our staff yesterday. And Kara, if there's anything additional information you need, and we'll be in communication on the facilitator. And if you'd like to establish a regular meeting to kind of touch base on this, we'd be more than happy to do that. It was great just talking yesterday about some of your ideas.
Yeah, I really appreciate
We
that.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep, Carol was glad to meet you, Amber. Okay. Elaine had her hand raised, and then we'll go to Joseph. She's muted. Elaine, you're muted.
You're muted.
There you go.
Excuse me, I've already commented. I just forgot to move my hand.
That's fine. That's fine. That's okay.
I'll figure it all out soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bill has his hand raised.
Yeah, I apologize for being late. And Kara, I missed most of your pitch. Is it a single day session, like all day, or what's the plan there? I missed that part of it. And thank you for doing this. Could you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
I didn't know if I had to raise my hand back.
Bill answered it, Bill.
Bill, we were thinking 4 hours in lieu of one scheduled meeting for like the
Okay.
monthly meeting, and just kind of
Okay.
using this as a kickoff.
Okay.
And that way we're kind of setting the intentions for the meetings going forward. And that way we don't necessarily need to get all the work of transit committee done in one meetup, but just kind of, starting that conversation and start setting up some structure for what we want to see.
Oh, that's cool. So it's kind of like a rolling retreat, right?
Yeah, so at like the bottom of the retreat, I'll scroll down. We have the questions set up. What format do we want to have for meetings? How do we want to have working group report outs? We're going to set short-term goals for our transit committee. And how do we get those short-term goals on the agenda every month so that we're talking about it and kind of talking through there.
Love it. Thank you. Great idea. Positive.
Glad you're here, Bill. Glad you're here. Appreciate your input. Very much, very much. All right. If there are no more questions, I don't see any hands raised. We'll move on down the agenda. Transit committee member updates and rider experiences. Do we have any transit committee member updates and rider experiences? Colin has his hand raised.
Yeah. Thanks, Harvey. My is not really a rider experience, more of a question about update. So at least a year ago, I'm thinking we all voted that for the next year, we would have virtual meetings. But at some point, do we not need to bring that up for a vote again? Or is this virtual forever? I thought it was supposed to be like every year. And I think it's been a year.
Clarification. Kim has her hand raised. Go ahead, Kim.
Colin, I think you bring up a good point that this decision needs to be reassessed. But I just want to give you some new information that at our Equity and Engagement Committee meeting, the subcommittee of council, we discussed updates on the government accountability project. No, excuse me, the government accessibility that we're working on at the city level. And one of the new tools that we're going to be gaining is hybrid meetings. So it's my understanding that we're going to start with piloting some hybrid meetings, which means that folks will be able to be meeting in person and meeting virtually, as well as being able to participate at the public level. But that's going to be coming up at the end of the year. So there's some new infrastructure in place. I just wanted to let you know. We know that there are barriers to participation that keep people from being able to serve on our advisory boards, but also to be able to do things like provide public input. And so that can be childcare access, transportation access, time away from work and family obligations. So there are more tools coming soon. I don't know if the transit committee wants to reassess whether you meet either virtually or in person now, or if you want to see when the hybrid meetings become available, if that gives you some more flexibility for different options instead of just the either or.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Does anybody know when we made that decision? I
Um,
remember Amber was, I think she was still not living in Nashville at the time.
Yeah,
yeah,
I believe.
Amber has her hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry I jumped in without being addressed. I apologize. I think we voted on it probably like in October, November of 22. So we definitely do need to readdress it. I think the last time we did it, I don't know if we did it. No, on the times we did a doodle poll and on the virtual versus in person, those were our only two options at the time. And I do not know when they'll be rolling out the hybrid option. We can do some staff research and report on that and report at the next meeting, or if you'd like to get more information from us, also changing the time too. But we can provide you additional information at the next meeting if you'd like that, to have more researched options.
Okay, thank you, Amber.
I don't know when it's going to be rolled out for the hybrid option.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And Kim, I appreciate what you said. But I can feel Nicole's hands. They're moving already to find an answer. When we did discuss that. I know Nicole. There she is. I told you.
Yes,
I
sir.
told you.
I'm looking at it right now. Bear with me.
I
Hopefully
told
I'll
you.
have something here shortly.
I can feel you, Nicole. I can feel you. Go ahead. You have the floor.
I know the last time we all met in person was basically on my first day of work, and that was like September of 22.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was when we toured the buses.
Yep.
Bus barn.
Mhm. I really enjoyed that, and I think it might be a nice annual to have. It was really beneficial for the members that were there, and we have some new faces. So, and we also have new faces. Y'all, it'd be nice for y'all to meet Keith and see the team. There's some new members on the team too at our ATP Dev.
Revisit the garage.
Harvey, could
We'd be
we
happy to have you, Chairman.
could we request that maybe at the next meeting we have, an evaluation of whether we want to meet in person or meet online?
Yes, at the next meeting, that we can put that on the agenda to go ahead and vote on that. That would be fine, Keith. That would be a good move moving forward.
Thanks.
Harvey, I'm still looking. You may want to continue, and then I'll just pop my hand up when I find it.
All right, Nicole. Thank you.
Thanks.
Uh-huh. Okay, moving forward. My bad. Did anybody have anything else for transit committee updates and rider experiences? Go ahead, Kara.
So once again, took more new people on the bus. My cousin was in town. We went from West Asheville down into downtown. And, they normally come and stay at the hotels, and her brother just bought a house and was staying in West Asheville this time. And they had a great time on the bus. Thought it was clean. It showed up just when it was supposed to. All that great stuff to say. And she and my cousin were saying that they would have, when they were staying at hotels and the years prior, they would have taken the bus. They just didn't really know about it. So just thought it could be a great opportunity for us to be thinking about what are those communication channels? How are we currently reaching out to get, various visitors on the bus and get a couple of cars off the streets? And then also the signage at the bus station, at the bus stop they were at. It was, they couldn't really tell where they were going or whatever. I bussed over to them and then made sure they got on the right one, and that they were standing in the right spot and all that good stuff. But just another opportunity that the signs are basically free marketing for, the transit system. And how do we really get that so that if you're walking by, if you're trying to ride transit, if you don't know anything about it, how do we make them so they're useful? So just some feedback.
Some good stuff. Yes. Thank you, Carol. Is there anyone else with anything about transit updates or rider experience? Okay, Elaine. And then
Um,
Joseph.
a couple weeks ago, there was an orientation for the College for Seniors. That's about almost 2,000 people that participate in classes at UNCA. And I introduced myself, explained I was on the transit committee, was encouraging people to take the bus, and volunteered to answer questions. So I will continue to give information to that group because I think it's an important potential ridership for the bus system because some of these folks are no longer driving, and I think it would be really good for them to get used to using the buses. That's all.
Excellent, Elaine. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate that. Joseph, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Harvey. With your permission, I'd like to just share my screen for a few minutes. I've got as most of you know, I've been working in California for the last 4 months, and I haven't been just surfing and eating lots of good food, but I did take some time to visit some of our sister agencies dealing with transit. One in particular was close to where I was working, is the city of Hanford, California. They have implemented purchase of these small electric runabout, basically. They call it the baby bus, that serves their downtown community quite efficiently and is very, very popular. It has room for one wheelchair, as you can see. It's only 12 to 15 passengers with the wheelchair. So it's quite different than our large 45-foot transit buses. But in my view, it could easily work into some sort of a future downtown circulator, perhaps, or something along those lines that would offer interconnection opportunities like what we've been talking about in our transit working group in multimodal. So I just wanted to share some of these photos with you, and I put together this little report for our MMTC working group, and some of the input will be coming your way eventually as we decide how we want to present it and work with staff to see if some opportunity might be there to look at this kind of an approach. But it's a really cool deal, and I hope that a city our size can utilize that kind of equipment and integration. But thanks, Harvey. I just wanted you all to see the scale of the equipment and how they're using it effectively.
Thank you, Joseph, for showing us those concepts. We appreciate them very much. And Bill has his hand raised. Wait, Bill?
Bill, you're muted.
He's not muted. His mic isn't working.
Can't hear you, Bill. Come on, Bill.
We'll send you some chalk.
I tell you, we got a bunch of comedians on the transit committee. He's just talking away and still can't hear him. Okay. Bill, we can't hear you. I think he's went to check his equipment. Let's give him about 30 more seconds before we go on. Bill, I understand. Sorry. That's what he said. All right. Until he gets it ready, he'll get it right in a little while. But anyway, we'll go ahead and move on down the line. And give him a chance to say what he's wanting to say about member updates and rider experiences. In the meantime, we'll move on down to departmental updates, city staff, monthly transit update memo. I was going to read all these in its entirety, but I think we'll come out better just by letting staff. We'll go at one at a time. Monthly transit update memo.
Do you want?
Provide an update?
Yeah, I included the memo update. Just provide some general status updates on some of the big projects that our staff is working on. Chris is going to provide some additional ones with ridership and some other updates. Currently, we are wrapping up our triennial review. It's been fast and furious in the last week or two. I'm actually going to be hitting the send button on our team's response to FTA and following up with some procurement deficiencies. This has been an ongoing process for about 1.5 years now. It has been a large time consumption for our small staff, particularly when we had 50% vacant seats in the transit division. So I am welcoming the free time that this will bring us. Really want to give kudos to our staff, everyone, Nicole and Christina, for all their efforts on the big lift of the subrecipient and grants management and award improvements that we had to make to satisfy and make some corrections with our processes with FTA. Really excited about the step our division is taking. And Christina is about ready to hit the send button on the subrecipient and grant management policy to our subrecipients. We besides providing the public transit in the city of Asheville, we also oversee millions of dollars annually to subrecipients, and they're Haywood County, Henderson County, and Buncombe County, and also some 5310, which is elderly and disabled funding, and some JARC funding for the region, which is job access and reverse commute. And we work annually and weekly and every day with these subrecipients and their transit programs to make sure that the grants are administered in a compliant and required manner by FTA. Also, we are developing grants that provide funding to the region, including us. And Christina and Nicole have been working on that with our subrecipients, and we'll be working on our upcoming grants for fiscal year 25. So just really excited moving forward. Our processes are improved. It's been a big lift, a lot of learning curve. We've done this with the help of HTG, our grant consultants, but it's just really, really excited it'll free some of my time up. We can work on other endeavors. What else is in there? We were awarded some funding from the MPO. It's nothing abnormal, and it's our typical request. We ask for some funding on the paratransit side to assist with our ADA service. This is a $1.2 million service that we provide annually. It is our required ADA service, which is a complimentary paratransit. We requested about 200 and some thousand. We received about 138,000. And then we did receive some funding on the job access reverse commute. It primarily pays for our 170 service, along with a contribution from Black Mountain. And there's just a little bit that goes to supplement S3 and sometimes X6, but it's probably about like 50 to 90,000. It's not much. They just put the overage towards that service, and it is for us to provide service for job access and low income folks out into those areas. So happy that we're awarded the funding. It does benefit and help the city of Asheville and the region that when we are able to provide that service. So that's just my update, and I can kick it off to Chris if there aren't any questions.
Yes. I always want to ask you a question, Amber. It's not that much. But in reading your report, you had some deadlines for the end of June. Are you going to be able to meet your deadlines at the end of June?
For our report, yes, we are. We are meeting them. We're hitting the submit button, so I feel good about that.
Yeah, I just had to ask you.
It's been fast and furious, like my hair on fire and I'm sure staff is ready to be able to take the day off tomorrow and honor Juneteenth.
And then I saw also that the monies that were allotted to S3, but the S6 wasn't listed. But in your explanation a minute ago, you included the S6 then.
Sometimes it has in the past. I think in the previous ask it's really not a lot. It's just when no one else utilizes those funds. There's only a certain portion that we can supplement for the 170. So then there's usually just a little bit left over. So we usually dedicate those to S3 or S6. I mean, they're fully funded. I mean, particularly the city of Asheville is utilizing local funds to fund those services. So it's just a small amount of like 50 to 90,000 usually above and beyond the cost of what the 170. We always ask for the full amount of funding we can, which is about 50% on that route.
Okay. And I don't know, you said something about the 1.2 million to ADA. And my mind was thinking what you sent to ADA was like 437,000.
It is, and I think we always ask for a higher amount than what we get. The 5310 funds it's a highly competitive, and there's multiple agencies that apply for it, and it's a targeted funding. So you have nonprofits also receiving a portion of it. So they split kind of a portion. We get a very small amount usually. We always ask for more than what we normally will receive just to show the need. The demand has increased since COVID, and we got 138,000 this year, but every little bit helps to supplement the dollars and the service.
Okay. Last question. Do we fund all of the money for Mountain Mobility ADA?
We fund the city paratransit service. That is our responsibility under ADA requirements. We provide fixed route service, and we're mandated to provide a complimentary service 3/4 of a mile around all of our fixed routes. The city of Asheville goes above and beyond, and we provide it to the whole city, to the city limits, to our incorporated area, which is a benefit. Some systems only go between that 3/4 of a mile area. So we fund that service directly through an interlocal agreement with Buncombe County, and Mountain Mobility provides that service. Mountain Mobility also provides other services, and they pay their local share with that. They also receive 5311 funds, which are the rural component of our 5307 funds. So they also do some Medicaid and Medicare transportation through contractual agreements with Medicaid. So they have a lot of different funding sources involved within their annual budget and supplementing their services.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Amber. Any more questions for Amber? If not, okay. Kara has her hand up. Go ahead, Kara.
Hey, Amber. So I had a question specifically on the 5307 funds.
Mm-hmm.
Is this what we were, I guess, like when we were discussing last meeting and what got brought up at the city council agenda briefing about the funds that the MPO might have or available? Is this what was being discussed, or is there still another pot?
No, the 5307 JARC, they take we get an annual apportionment to our region, and then there is a formula allocation for the subrecipients, which are Haywood. Haywood is out now. They're not in our urbanized area after the updated census, but they were up until 23. So it's Henderson County, Buncombe, and the city of Asheville. Above, our region has chose to take a 10% of that portion of the apportionment and dedicate it to job access servers commute funding. And that's 5307 funding. And that is a specific targeted funding pot that is awarded by the MPO. They have their call for projects. They do the selection. Those grants are tied directly to the MPO awards. So this is additional funding that is allocated by call for projects each year, along with a 5310 allocation that our region sees. And that is all dictated by the MPO. And that can go to nonprofits, local governments for targeted services, they call it targeted population services. So it would be for the elderly and disabled funding. So it's an annual call. We know when those are. And, Carol, it would be good when we discussed in the agenda for the planning retreat, just to give a broad overview of all the funds that come in annually through apportionments, and then the discretionary process, which was what we applied for in April when we applied for about 15 buses.
Okay.
And that comes through directly. We apply with a bunch of other agencies and cities for funding for bus and bus facilities. So we can go over that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Amber. Are there any more questions for Amber on that? Okay, Bill. Bill still blocked off. And his hand there. He's wanting to talk today, but he can't get his mic to work.
Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, Harvey, can you hear me?
Barely. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Amber, I read in your report that there's 2 grants that we're applying for. Are these in addition to the other ones you've already spelled out?
No, those were the ones that we just discussed, the paratransit and the 170 and S3.
Okay.
They're our annual, we do it each year.
Okay,
And
so it's not 2 new grants.
it's nothing new. Mm-mm.
Got it.
Yep.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Bill, for your comment. Are there any more questions for Amber at this time about transit update? If not, we'll move on to ART ridership report. Staff will provide updates on the fiscal year 2024 ridership report. Wi-Fi on ART buses and website enhancements. No, I guess I went to one. No, I went to one before, one after it. ART ridership report. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, Harvey, I'll go ahead and provide a summary of the ridership for May. The sheet is linked in the agenda, but I'll just kind of provide a snapshot of what's in there. May's ridership was at 147,000, and May of 2023 we're at 126,000. We're up approximately 191,000 over last year, which is about a 17% increase. We're coming to the end of the fiscal year, so we're estimating to be at 1.6 million for FY24. In 2019, we were at 1.9 million. So assuming the current trend continues, I think we'll be back to pre-pandemic levels next year.
Sounds good.
And happy to, before I move on, happy to answer any questions or.
Are there any questions for Chris? Kara.
Hey, Chris. Once again, love this report. So just for my clarity, when I'm looking at it, can I see the 2020 COVID levels in here? Is that FY 21 or is that FY 20?
Those are not in here.
Can we get those added since we keep referring to 2020 COVID levels across everything?
I'll see what I can do. Yeah.
Amber
It's-
has her hand.
We can provide those, but the problem is we actually made the change to service in January
Right,
of 2020. So you have different routes, and then they're melded into other routes. So we can provide that information.
Can we provide it like with the asterisk on this
Yeah.
graph? That way we still see
Yeah.
it visually, but then we all.
Yeah, we can take a look at that. I thought about that too. We were just trying to provide you as much information as we could easily pull together. The COVID, the 20 is a little tough, and before because all the routes were different. But we can provide at least the annual ridership and maybe some breakout of the routes. So
Awesome. Thank you.
That was that same blue button I showed you last night. 2020 service check. Okay, thank you, Karen. Thank you, Amber. Wi-Fi and art buses and website enhancements.
Kara.
Sarah.
Wait, sorry, Harvey. One more comment before we go on to the next one. It looks like We1 is by far our most popular route. Have we thought about, is there conversations, and I know this is where it gets tricky with funding, but that is such a popular route. Have we thought about extending hours on like weekends or other things, since we know that would really be a high impact item?
Well, Amber.
Go ahead, Amber.
I'll just defer to Chris. He was going to answer the question unless you
Okay,
want me
Chris.
to.
What I can say is that we've started a service development committee. So it's the city working with our ATV Dev to look at route changes, and later this year or even further on into the future. Extending hours, looking at other changes to routes, improving on-time performance. Those are all sort of on the agenda. So we'll be looking at all that stuff as we continue through that process.
And I also think as we go through the COA, all of these will be ranked and analyzed and looked at for their strengths, their opportunities, and their weaknesses, with suggested multi-phased improvements or suggestions for change for the route network.
Okay, thank you, Amber. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Kara. Colin has his hand raised. Go ahead, Colin.
Thanks, Harvey. I think Kara brought up a good point, and looking at the data, and I'm wondering, do you get granular enough in your data that if you're looking at routes and potential changes with regards to actual stops and where boardings and lightings are highest at certain stops? And obviously we have a lot of routes that overlap stops, so S3 and S6 or may share a lot of the same stops. So using that to compare of ridership from a stop level as opposed to just the route level.
Yeah, I mean, the way the data is is currently, we can look at, stop level ridership. We can look at ridership by trip, time of day. I mean, really, however we want to kind of look at the data. It takes some manipulating. We are moving towards this cloud platform for the ridership passenger counter. The contract was just signed, so we are moving ahead with that. Once that is fully operational, it will be a lot easier to extract that data in a lot of different formats. Yeah.
We are limping along on kind of a share my PC type of situation with collecting and gathering our stop data. It still does a great job on grabbing all the data and collecting it. It's just really hard to analyze it. So going to this cloud-based system and doing everything cellular, we're upgrading the APCs that are only Wi-Fi, will allow us to have better kind of analysis. With that said, that type of analysis is, we have access to it, don't have as many staff to be able to kind of go into this in a lot of detail all the time. We are kind of freeing up some time. The COA is made for this, to look at it by stop level and route segment level, to kind of delve into those characteristics of each route and those stops.
Some good 21st technology there.
Yeah.
Hold on, Bill. Keith had his hand up before you, Bill.
Oh, and before I just talked. I'm sorry. My apologies.
That's okay. Amber, Keith?
Thank you, Chairman Howard. I just want to chime in. What committee member Kara and Colin brought up. This is part of a larger discussion in which we are continuing to work hand in hand with Chris. As we start to look at riderships, we also are identifying our priority routes, the routes that go to the airport, social services, hospitals. So it's really a bigger discussion. And at this point, we are establishing the virtual infrastructure or the framework for really looking at the transit stop amenities, to your point, decals, signage, shelters, safety, lighting, things of that nature. So we're really glad that you brought those things up, but they are certainly in the works. It's just premature to get into the granular details, but RATP Dev and the City of Asheville with Chris, we are making great strides in that respect. Also working with the vendor for Swiftly, who is our vendor for on-time performance. We're working with them, and that's really a monthly dialogue. So we're certainly doing our fact gathering, and we hope to have something by fall of 2024, if not sooner. But thank you very much, committee member Kara and Colin.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Keith. Great stuff. Bill has his hand up. Go ahead,
Can you
Bill.
hear me? I'm on the phone. Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Oh, good. Thanks, Nicole. So Amber, you've mentioned the COA a couple times. Is it then approved? Is it going to happen? Because I was looking in your report to see if it's real or not. Because last time we met, we wanted it. I think we asked for it, but it wasn't final then. So what's the status of it?
It has been finalized, and I believe Councilmember Roney sent you all our kind of working draft on our scope and our goals and objectives. I can resend that out, and we will be providing an update in July.
Okay, yeah, if you could resend. I didn't find that in my stack,
we can send
so
it.
thank you. All right, great.
Thank you. All right. Are there any more questions on that? The ridership report? We'll move on to the Wi-Fi on ARC buses and website enhancements.
Yeah, these are this will be brief, but both of these are in the planning stages. The city was awarded a grant by the Land of Sky Regional Council to increase digital inclusivity by providing free public Wi-Fi to the passengers on board the vehicles. Yeah, we're just beginning. We're in the planning stages currently, but it is very exciting. We'll be sharing more information, hopefully by the end of the summer.
Mhm. Sounds great, Chris. Sounds real great. Thank you,
And
man. God.
yeah,
Thank you, John and the crew.
and another thing that we just started discussions on are making some, I think, important changes to the transit page on the city website. The idea is to create a better user experience, make the information more accessible. We're still evaluating what we can do with our resources, but we'll be looking at creating separate route pages with embedded maps that will provide real-time vehicle location for the routes that you're looking at. We hope to also create a trip planning tool, which will allow people to set origin, destination, date and time for their trip, and it'll show all the possible transit options for them. We're just beginning the discussions, but we'll be able to provide you with more information when it becomes available.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Would that also include the next one we're going into, what you were talking about, public Wi-Fi on art bus?
I'm sorry.
Would that also include the public Wi-Fi? That's what we're going into next.
Oh no, well we discussed the public Wi-Fi with the grant from the Land to Sky Regional Council.
Wi-Fi on art buses.
Right, and then separately from that, we'll be making some changes to the transit page on the city's website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, would the staff provides the updates for planning stages, public Wi-Fi and art buses, and discuss recent additions to the website?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Yeah, Harvey,
What's the next thing on the agenda, Chris?
that's what we talked about. Nicole?
That's what I was asking. That's what I was asking.
Yes,
That-
sir. Those are sub-paragraphs.
Yeah,
Under
there's
the item.
paragraphs.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So, in other words, we covered those two at once.
Correct, yes.
Amber, go ahead.
I just really wanted to take a moment to say great job, Chris, and we really appreciate having him on board. And he has really done a lot with our data and improved our APC data as well as our reporting out to you. We know that there's some additional things that you want to see, but these are some good first steps and some of the improvements he wants to make on the website that he'll be working on. So it's greatly appreciated, and his efforts have gone noticed, and we sure appreciate it. And we're really excited to be able to, kind of start work on this Wi-Fi project for buses. I think it'll be a great amenity for our riders.
Nicole has her hand. Thank you, Amber. Nicole has her hand up.
Yes, sir. My apologies for the delay. I found the information about where the committee met regarding virtual versus in person. It passed 4-1 on October 18th, 2022 to continue virtually. I did receive an email from boards and commissions regarding the hybrid meetings when they were first approved by the Equity and Engagement Committee. I have not gotten any updates. Their email indicates that they're working with the communications and public engagement to see what the next steps will be.
If I might jump in real quick, the information that we got at Equity and Engagement Committee was today at 1 o'clock. So there will be more information coming soon. We did approve moving to hybrid meetings format in 2023. It's when our work plan for this year. And so we are just now seeing the infrastructure set up, but you'll get more information from the Cape department, I imagine.
Good. Thank you, Kim, for that information. Okay, and thank you, Nicole. Okay, moving down the agenda. How to use the bike rack on the art bus tutorial video.
Yeah, the link should be included in the agenda, but we had some staff create a video, sort of a tutorial video to
Okay.
Help people in using the bike racks. So I thought that was a really good addition, and yeah, that information's available on our website.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Elaine? I saw your hand first.
The video about using the bike rack is excellent. Whoever put that together did a really good job. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look at that. Okay. Thank you, Elaine.
Harvey, can I ask a question about that?
Who's asking a question? Kim, is that you asking a question?
It is. So I did get some really good feedback about the video. Thank you for that. As somebody who uses their bike on the bus, it's really helpful in this mountainous terrain. One of the questions that came up is that you can't put motorized bikes on the bus, but electric bikes are really common mobility tools, and they're gaining popularity, especially for folks who might not be able to manually operate a bicycle. The question was, because you can technically and legally put your bike on the bus, does that mean that folks who have an electric bike should plan to do that? And there's some models that fold. Should they fold them and bring them on the bus?
Keith is in, he's probably going to answer that at the same time with his own question. Keith, and then we'll go
Yes,
to
and thank you for that question, Committee Member Roney. Yes, they should have their bike inside of a bag for safety reasons, to avoid any sort of tripping hazards. But we were speaking of the bicycle policy in earlier conversations, but as it stands, it is allowed, but it does need to be inside of a bag.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Bill?
Yeah, that's a very interesting conversation. Are there any municipalities that are integrating electric bikes and bus service? Because that would be a super win for Asheville if we could make that happen.
Okay, Keith?
I'm not familiar if there are any local municipalities, but having been around the football field several times, there are agencies that are similar in size that they do not allow bikes aboard the vehicle. So we certainly are ahead of the curve in accommodating our community.
But we don't have any evidence of anybody practicing a
Nothing
kind of
locally.
multimodal thing where it's bikes and buses can be incorporated for a rider.
We can
I
take
think,
a look at it.
Not by e-bikes and buses.
Yeah, I think you probably want to look at some industry trends. There's probably some bigger cities. Like I know when I use the transit app in Baltimore, there's ways for you to connect and see if a commute could be easier or faster with a combination. If you use the transit app here locally and you scroll down past the transit options, it gives you options for walking and biking, but not a combination.
Okay.
But not the combination.
Yes.
Susan was
We
just
can take a
saying
look at that.
Philadelphia might have that opportunity. We ought to be on the lookout for that, y'all. Just it's gonna happen. So let's keep our eyes out. Yeah, we ought to talk to Asheville on bikes about that. That would be a good outlet.
Okay, thank you, Bill. I think Amber's gonna add to that, and then we'll go to Colin.
My comment is, we're open to any feedback or suggestions, as Keith had indicated about looking at our existing policy, kind of maybe researching some industry trends, see what other organizations are doing, transit systems are doing with their bike organizations in their communities, just to make sure that there's nothing that we're missing, or if there's something we should be adding, or things that we're not, that we could easily implement to improve the access and the compatibility from one to the other.
Okay, thank you, Amber. We'll go to Colin, then Kara, then back to Keith.
Thanks, Harvey. Just a quick clarification with Keith. And from what I heard, you said is the only way to be able to take your bicycle, any bicycle, on a bus would be to have it in a bag or some sort of a bicycle container for safety.
That's correct. Yes. Yes.
That was my understanding too, because I've had my bike in the past and the bike rack's been loaded and I was refused access to the bus, which kind of just left me stranded, unfortunately. But yeah, it does happen.
Yeah, this is Council Liaison Kim Roney. Yeah, I was seeing the video, was so exciting, and it gave me an opportunity to look at our bike policy. And what I expected to hear today is that it would be a driver discretion based on the capacity of the bus, because I know that our bike policy, I think, allows 2 bikes on the bus if there's capacity. Another thing that would be interesting is this is the first time I've heard that you would require a bike to be in a bag. I know a lot of the new models of electric bikes, when they fold in half so that you can pick them up and carry them inside, are smaller than a stroller. So it might be a cool time while you're looking at the retreat coming up, trying to do some more outreach with folks and making this video and engaging more potential riders, is to just kind of make sure everyone's on the same sheet of music as far as what the policy is, so we can be all good advocates.
Okay, thank you, Kim, for that input. We'll go to Kara, Keith, and we have one more, LaShawn. Kara?
Yeah, just throwing in my 2 cents here. Is there a safety reason why e-bikes can't be on the bike rack? Because I wouldn't think so, and they're honestly the same size as a standard bike. Some of them have that battery in the tube and you can't even tell. I would think that would be an easy win, especially to someone's point earlier, given the hills in the area, that should, if there's not a safety reason, that, that's a pretty strong combination between the e-bike and the bus. Just my 2 cents.
That's
No,
going
and
to Keith. Keith's got that.
no, and thank you. Really, I think this is a robust discussion and allow us to review the policy and get back to you. Some of the reservations that I do have is the width and the aisles of our buses are rather narrow, and the bike or 2 bikes can take up some of that bus real estate, preventing wheelchairs to get on, mobility devices to get on, so that there are other things to consider. But if you would allow us to look at the policy and review it, and we'll have a better answer for you. And I do think that there's an opportunity for us to partner and be accommodating to the committee as well as the citizens. And while we're on that, I did want to share, because we're going into our more robust season and there is the bike video, I wanted to share that we need to look at some of the safety components outside of the vehicle as well. So with that being said, we have introduced a standard operating procedure. The buses will put their bus in neutral, they will apply their parking brake, and they will allow the person to load their bus and remove their bus. That will prevent any operator whose foot slips off the brake, confuses the brake with the accelerator, and then we end up with another incident. So this is part of the enhanced safety measures as we go into the season and we accommodate our bike riders.
Thank you, Keith. LaShawn had her hand up. LaShawn, would you like to add to the conversation, please?
I was just gonna say what Keith said. Yeah, to Kim's point, at one point in time, regular bicycles, if the rack was full, we were allowing on the bus, driver discretion, and it was as long as the bus wasn't full, we were allowing them on the bus. Right now, with this campaign going, if we run into that issue, then that might pose a problem. So that is something that we can definitely take a look at here in the future.
Thank you, LaShawn. Kara, did you have something else to say?
No, I was just responding back to Colin's comment. He said that the e-bikes on the rack may be based on the weight. And so then my comment back to him was, shouldn't the rule be based on weight then? That way we're dynamic as technology and e-bikes continue to get lighter. But that was, no further comment on that one.
Okay. I just want to make sure you got everything in.
Appreciate it.
All right. Is there any more discussion on that? Okay, Bill says he agrees with Kara. Okay, thank you, Bill. All right, moving forward, I don't see anybody else's hand raised on the screen. Operation updates, art staff, RATP Dev, general manager update. General manager will provide updates on art activities. In your hands, Keith.
Thank you very much, Chairman Harvey. RATP and the City of Asheville continue to redefine applying and operating bus fixed route services. Our on-time performance, I think, is very practical for us to look at. In May 2023, our on-time performance overall was 71%. For May of 2024, it has increased 2% to 73%. For earlies, May of 2023, we were early 8% of the time. That has decreased 3% to running early 5% of the time. So it's really important for us to take note of that. As ridership increases, we are still achieving on-time performance at a better rate than year over year. As part of our safety initiatives, Ms. Aiken, who is our fixed route director and interim safety manager, she has been effective in implementing changes in alignment with our safety initiatives. Under her guidance, we have improved lytics coaching by incorporating standard operating procedures and memos. Part of those memos are defensive driving, servicing a service stop or a time point, and entering traffic and being mindful of fixed accidents on the right side. In May of 2023, we had 8 accidents. In May of 2024, we've had 4 accidents, with 2 of those accidents being unavoidable. We are incorporating videos where we are revisiting the scene of the accident, and we're using those tools for retraining, refresher training, safety stand down, safety meetings with the operators. We have ongoing monthly refresher training meetings, which includes our maintenance staff. And we are evaluating our current technologies to enhance vehicle safety or improved DOT compliance. Manpower. AGM Abraham is partnering with stakeholders for the recruitment of the manager of maintenance and safety and training. It is important for us to recruit talent with proven qualifications and certifications. So we recognize that these are 2 key managerial positions that we need to have filled. It will be easier for us to have these filled with a body, but it's better to have them filled with someone that exudes those qualifications and certifications. So we're looking at filling these key positions with those that we deem qualified to operate within these roles. We do have candidates, and we are still in the process of interviewing them for both of these positions. For FY 2025, ART will continue to coordinate with executive leadership to reserve seats for TSI and TSSP certifications. So what are those certifications? Those are professional certifications in the transit industry that would take the candidates or the trainees over a series of collision investigations, accident avoidance, OSHA. So it's a full range of classes. For this calendar year, all of those classes have closed and they're filled because they're highly competitive. But we'll be the first ones in line, or one of the first, going into FY25 or for calendar year 2025, to ensure that the incumbents who may not have the certifications, they have a path forward to have those things completed. The TSI, TSSP, it must be completed within a 3-year period, but it's something that we will continue to gauge. The operations supervisors, currently we have 2 that are current. We have 1 in training, and we are actively recruiting for the remaining 2. AGM Abraham continues to spearhead communications with Amalgamated Transit Union, or ATU. We will evaluate the bidded bus operator schedules as we maximize our effectiveness and our efficiencies. And maintenance, Mr. Scott Young, our interim manager of maintenance, continues to communicate with providers for parts, doors. We're trying to get the more Proterras operating. Currently, we have 1802, which is one of our Proterras that is up and running. We're getting up to 6 hours of utilization off of that bus, but we also have parts coming by the end of July, knock on wood, that we're going to apply to 2 more of those buses. So I would much rather under promise and over deliver. So let's say we will have 1 more Proterra running for a total of 2, but we're very optimistic that we should have 3 of those running, but we will keep the city involved in the progress, but parts have been ordered. And that concludes the general manager's update. Back to you, Chairman Howard.
One question, Keith.
Yes,
The
sir.
parts for the Proterra buses, are they coming in it quicker, or is there still that long wait to get them?
There is anywhere between a 4 to 6 head time or lead wait before those parts are delivered. But we are knocking on doors, we're cannibalizing, but because they're the Proterra doors, everyone is looking for the same parts. So when we get them, we try to get them as soon as possible. But this is supply chain delivery. So we're looking anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks, and we are about 2 weeks into that time frame.
So when you say others are looking, that was necessarily manufacturer's defects, or so to speak?
No, other transit agencies, because, well, we have our own other properties that are buying for those parts, but we have transit agencies throughout the U.S. that are also looking at Proterra parts. So we usually have to be the first one, but it's very competitive in order to procure those parts.
Thank you, sir. Bill has his hand raised.
So
Yes,
if we
Committee Member
get
Bill.
if we get an extra bus, does that allow us to increase service?
It doesn't allow us to increase service at all. These are buses that we would use as spares, buses that we would use just in our normal operations, but not enough for us to put another bus in service. We just have enough operators in order to run our service. You would look at operators plus equipment if we were trying to put out anything else.
Bill, these
that-
are already
is
in
a-
the fleet. These are in the fleet. So what you're doing is you're putting more miles on the new buses, which isn't a good thing. We're kind of just running the fleet. We're putting
But
more
it's still
miles
an
on
extra-
the fleet.
It's still an extra bus, right?
No,
I
they'd
mean,
be on
basically
the
we-
electric buses. You can only run them 6 hours, so you need like 2 to run 1 route. So we need them. It does not plan for any expansion of services with these buses. I mean,
I
they're our
understand
existing
that, but-
fleet.
Except they've been unutilized for how many years?
Well,
So now
just-
they're utilizable, correct?
Well, there's only one being utilized right now. We can only use
Right.
one.
So we've got roughly 5 unutilized electric buses. And what I just heard was one of them we can put back into service. And I think what I heard was that doesn't allow us to extend service because we're maxed out on drivers. Is that what I heard?
That's
Well,
what you heard, but the
yeah.
other part of that, it doesn't allow us to put out any additional service because we don't get that much
Yeah.
utilization out of the Proteras. We're currently we're still
Okay.
swapping them out.
All right.
The problem is
get
they
it.
only
So
run
just
6
one.
hours. So you swap one, you swap it out for another one. And they're actually were planned to be utilized on 2 routes. So the issue is when you got your entire fleet out on the route, like you have to swap out to do PMs, or you've got a couple down for accidents. We had 2 preventable accidents that took out front ends of buses, or they were non-preventable, excuse me. So you need to be able to have a spare ratio to be able to cover the maintenance and the preventative that we have to do on the buses to adhere to our federal requirements. So there should be a spare ratio.
We've increased our spare capacity is what we've done with it.
Well, it actually
here's a
just gives us
question. If
some
we-
flexibility, and
Right.
it helps us run and keep the fleet healthier. Right now, you're putting way more miles on your new buses, so you're wearing out your new buses years before you really should.
Amber,
because you're just
I
putting them on.
understand. We don't need to go into the weeds here. I understand that. But here's another question. If we retrofit that bus, can we sell it?
There's not much of a market for the Proteras, unfortunately.
So we can't salvage that bus. Even
No,
if
we
repair it?
we even talked about it, because the issue with some of these the buses, they're like used parts. So like you can only run them so long, and then we have not identified a market. We've asked.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine if they only run
Yeah.
for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
thank
we're
you.
in the same boat as others. It's unfortunate. If we could just utilize them on our routes, it would be beneficial for the health of the fleet. We're trying, others are trying to, our partner with RATP Dev, at least they've got multiple systems in the state and in the US that they're trying to procure more parts and numbers to help all the systems. It's hard. It's a challenge. At least we're able to see some movement with parts, but we're still being told on the service side that Phoenix Motors is still having some issues delivering some of the services that they need to and coming on site because of payment issues. So.
Thanks.
Thank you, committee member.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amber, Keith, and thank you for your input, Bill. Very good conversation, very good conversation. Colin, already good discussion. However, I indicated prior to beginning. Yeah, I understand that you'll be leaving right now. Okay. Colin, we'll see you later. Okay. And be safe over the holidays. And we see it our July 16th meeting. Okay. Any more questions for Keith? Bill, you still have your hand up. Okay. Kara had something.
Hey Keith, I was reading the complaint log, complaint 233. It's about the bus stop signage, and I'm not sure if it's you or if this is city staff, but I know I'm stuck on signage, and I'm going to keep mentioning it because I just feel like it's so important. But the complaint was all bus signs are scratched so badly that the bus information cannot be read from Bojangles to Walmart on Airport Road, is what the complaint read. Is there anything we can do this month to go make this better for Janet? Like, is there anything we can go do? Do we have any spare signs? Yeah, they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be, the best sign ever created by a transit system. But is there anything we could do to go, someone cared enough to write in, to call in? I'm not sure which one it was. Is there anything we can do to go make that better for her?
Did you want to take that? But I can respond.
I can respond.
Amber, Chris?
I'll let Chris respond.
Yeah. I mean, we had staff go out and take a look. I think we had some of the circular signs on hand, but these were the rectangular signs, which we do not have any currently. So we're looking at ordering signs for these stops and a few others throughout the city.
Amber has her hand raised. Thank you, Chris.
Kara, I think that's a good point. We've ran out of our extra signs, and staff used to have those signs. So we are reestablishing the process on our sign printing. And maybe, Chris, it might be good as we reevaluate. We are also in the process of hiring a transit apprentice that is funded with NCDOT funds. We've had one in the past. We're really trying to likely focus there. While there's a lot of needs within our transit division, this apprentice we'd like to have focused on some of our bus stop amenity, particularly our bus stop improvements. We haven't really refined the job description yet. Chris is doing the initial interviews, and there'll be second interviews. But possibly, and Chris, I know you've looked at maybe doing just a quick order of some before we order like the large, when we get the assessment of how many need to be replaced. Was that still, I think we were talking about that, and maybe that's what you were referring to, and I'm just misspeaking about it.
So yeah, I think we're going to be ordering a set of signs sooner rather than later for these stops and a few other stops pertaining to the sidewalk project on New Luster. But yeah, the idea is with the apprentice, I think one of the roles would be to kind of do an inventory of all the bus stops, kind of bringing our information up to date so that we can do some major rehauling of all the bus stops. We just created some new route stickers that I'll be sharing with RATV Dev on Thursday. So that'll be something that will happen sooner rather than later. Those are the little, currently they're the little circular route stickers on the bus stop blades. So yeah, that's going to be happening soon, but when we get the apprentice in here, we'll be able to do a revamp of the whole system, I think.
Okay, thanks. Really excited to hear that. Yeah, some things are moving there. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kara, and thank you, Chris. Joseph has his hand up.
Well, related to Kara's question, and appreciate the process that Chris, you and Amber are going through, but I'm not familiar with the difference between the round signs and the rectangular signs. Is there something that can be substituted quickly while you're printing the new rectangular signs? Or is there completely different information on the round signs that can't be adapted?
Yeah, the round signs provide information about how to text to get like real-time location of a vehicle while you're at the stop. So they are different. They do provide different information. They're a lot smaller. So yeah, we can't use those. But yeah, we can discuss with the team to see if they're, if we have any other options though, to get something out there quickly.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Chris. Okay. Monthly RATP Dev reports. Are there any of the on-time performance summaries, RATP Dev reports, PM reports were made that anyone would like staff to discuss? Go ahead, Kara.
Keith, I had a question for you about the on-time delivery. And just a question for how other systems work for, it sounds like your team is making awesome progress on the earlies, which is great. You know, I was on the W2 and we like paused at, I think, Ingles or something, or maybe on the W6 as it waited to get back around, to get back on time. So I've seen it in action. It's awesome. I love to see that trend going down. What's the strategy for the lates? I know lates are often, you know, have more outside of the control, but what are other areas doing and what are kind of those conversations looking like? I'm sure you have a lot of expertise and knowledge in that.
Yes, and thank you very much for that. We have to account for the cyclical changes in our lates. We also have to account for the time of day for the lates. However, as part of the discussions that we've held with Chris and the City of Asheville staff, we're engaging with the operators. We are launching QR codes where the operator can scan the QR code. That information that the operator is seeing, whether it's traffic, construction, whatever that variable is, it's then exported into a spreadsheet, and we will continue to engage to make some of those changes. That's what we're doing as a partnership. However, internally, the supervisors engage with the director of fixed route, Ms. Akins, and we will look at any trends for when buses are running late. We try to identify, was it the operator that was pulling off the yard late, leaving the transit center late? What was that variable? So we do our own internal investigating. As part of our strategy, we just don't look at a bus is late, so we're not going to do anything with it. When I determine that there is a trend, we'll do a deeper dive into that route. And we have been concentrating specifically on the S2. But hearing that the WE1 is one of our heavily traveled routes, we can certainly change our focus as we reach the end of life for doing that S2 pilot, and we can start focusing more on the WE1. But we'll get back to you on some of the things that we find, if you would like, by the next transit committee meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. Really cool to hear about all that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Keith and Kara. I appreciate that very much. And for the clarification that's coming. That's good. Are there any more discussions for the monthly reports? Any of the committee members would like the explanation on? Okay. There's no informal and public comment. I'd like to let everyone know that we're coming up into two holidays where people will be out and about, and that's your Juneteenth celebration, which starts tomorrow and it lasts for a week or so, and also the 4th of July. I want everybody to be safe during these two holidays, and everyone, they'll be out and just having the best time that they can have. But I suggest that everyone try to maintain their equilibrium. And I'd love to see y'all July the 16th, 2024. So everyone have a safe 2 holidays and the rest of the days in between. Have a blessed evening.
Bless you. Thank you.